Welcome to another episode of the Good Listening To Show, your life and times with me, Chris Grimes, the storytelling show that features The Clearing, where all good questions come to get asked and all good stories come to be told. And where all my guests have two things in common. They're all creative individuals and all with an interesting story to tell. There are some lovely storytelling metaphors. A clearing, a tree, a juicy storytelling exercise called 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, some alchemy, some gold, a cheeky bit of Shakespeare, and a cake. So it's all to play for. So yes, welcome to the Good Listening To Show, your life and times with me, Chris Grimes. Are you sitting comfortably? Then we shall begin.
Oh, yes, indeedy. Go me with my new intro music and everything. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this straddling multimedia platform thingy that is the Good Listening To Show. And here in the Good Listening To, your life and times with me, Chris Grimes Clearing, live on the old Facebook and beaming in majestically from Canada is Leaha Mattinson.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Chris. I can't tell you how excited I am to be with you to record this show within a show within a show.
Yes, it is indeed very, very majestically a show within a show because Leaha Mattinson is a co-presenter on UK Health Radio, as I am with the Good Listening To Show. But she doesn't just do one show, she does two shows, hence show within a show within a show. And we decided to get in touch with each other to see if we could, I suppose, just blow a bit of smoke retrospectively and just see what happened.
Yes. Beautiful.
Yes.
Beautiful.
So master your life. I think of you in the research that I did about you as you didn't call yourself this, but I call you a fiery force of nature. Because you're all about mastering your life. That's your show that you are the founder of. You're a wellness and wealth advocate and a grandma, please. So you've got it all going on. And also your other program, apart from Master Your Life, is called Recovery Road. And there'll be an obvious invitation for you to tell us all about both of those shows in a short while. Also, you've got a very, very interesting backstory that I hope you won't mind me just sort of nudging into, where you had, I suppose a way of putting it is a genetic inheritance diagnosis in 2008, which really, really informs the journey of who you have become in a wonderful sense of carpe diem and a sort of resonance with stoicism in how you've decided to run your life.
Mm-hmm. You nailed it.
Wonderful. So would you like to talk about that first of all? Obviously, this is a lovely topic in any case for the show that you do within UK Health Radio. But if I tee you up as saying that it was a genetic inheritance, what's your own way of telling or describing that story, Leaha?
Yes, I would say, yes, it's been a gift. One of the things that has informed my life greatly is the genetic inheritance of Huntington's disease, which is an incurable neurological illness according to science. But I myself, thank goodness, have had some, other insights in my life around, people call it the spiritual journey. But I think it's more that for me, just understanding the deeper appreciation of life every day and having reverence for what it is that's happening right in the present moment. And that's been the big gift of having that it's quote unquote inheritance, because I'm well. And that is, according to science, not supposed to be happening. I'm supposed to be quite sick with, psychiatric problems, mental health problems, cognitive malfunction, and a movement disorder that looks like you're drunk. So it's very disturbing. So it's informed my life. I've thought about really refining the idea of being beautiful from the inside out, that whole beautiful brain, beautiful heart, beautiful body, because we live here in this body. And how do you actually develop that? How do you develop that in your entire essence and being? So yes, it's heavily informed my life. Yeah.
So wonderful. Yes, indeed. And you didn't mention in how I researched you stoicism per se, but it made me think of carpe diem and about embracing passion, happiness, and possibility. That's some of the stuff you say about yourself. And indeed, Recovery Road, I know the sort of mantra with that is how to be unstoppable in the face of terminal illness. So did that program also come about because of this journey?
Yes, I think because there's so many people that have really become poor in their wealth because of their health. And so they've been decimated either through divorce or through drug and alcohol use, through the families falling apart, opioid addictions, and all this. And so I could see in my own generations of families, from a 7 generations planning perspective, how have we been able to accumulate wealth, hold on to wealth, how it's been decimated in my generation through divorce, and then how do our children end up paying the price for that? So Recovery Road really is a legacy show about how do you become pure and virtuous again in your life and in your practices and your activities, thinking about your children and your grandchildren and your great-grandchildren. So being very conscientious about that and bringing in professionals to help you to do that in the category of wealth. So health is its own spectrum, and wealth is also a spectrum. And we need to pay attention to both of those things in order to have a life where we can just relax.
Yes.
Right? Yes.
In order to afford us all the possibility of taking a chill pill and just get on with what we can control rather than worrying too much about things we can't.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, because you never know what's coming. So live your best moment to moment.
And in fact, that was a wonderful qualification, by the way, because I made the assumption that recovery was just about terminal illness, but you're talking about recovery in its all-encompassing, multifaceted ways as well.
Yes, yes.
Also, you use the word legacy rather deliciously in amongst the last paragraph you were saying, which is a wonderful segue into now me introducing you to the storytelling construct here on the Good Listening To show. And legacy's coming last, but this is where I'm going to find out the story behind the story, behind the show of Leaha Mattinson. And I'm going to bounce you along the storytelling metaphors, as usual. If you've been listening to the Good Listening To show, not you, but I'm talking about our listeners. If you haven't been, where have you been? We're going to introduce you to the clearing, and then we're going to introduce a tree to your clearing, and then we shake your tree to see which storytelling apples fall out. Then that lovely second bit of preparation you've been kind enough to do, the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 responses. Then alchemy, gold, a cheeky bit of Shakespeare, and a cake. And the Shakespeare's where we're going to get on to legacy. So let's get cracking. So Leaha Mattinson, wonderful show founder of Master Your Life. And you look like you're doing that majestically, if I may say. What is a clearing like for you? I know you're based in Canada. One of my happiest trips in my life was to go to Canada, and I ended up going to Salt Spring Island. So for me, Canada's a clearing, but it's yours. So what is a clearing like for you?
Beautiful. The clearing for me is the meadow where I grew up. And as a small girl on my farm, there was an actual piece of property, which is a meadow. It's still there. So as an untouched piece of land that I would walk across just the little driveway, our road, and go across the fence, the barbed wire fence, and climb through the barbed wire fence, and then lay down in the meadow where there is beautiful green grass, wildflowers abounded, the sky is blue, the sun is smiling on me, and I lay down fully in the grass, and I'm just immersed like completely in Mother Gaia, the arms of that sparkling, beautiful, radiant light.
Wow, that's quite a clearing, if I may say. And I love the fact it's a really specific physical place that you can obviously and have returned to quite a lot.
Yes.
When were you last there?
Physically, I was last there probably about 10 years ago. My parents sold their farm 8 years ago. I'm welcome to go back anytime. But I go back frequently in my mind and in my journey because it's a good place to go. It's a good place to be.
And in your timeline, not to age either of us, but how old were you when you first cut through that, climbed through that barbed wire to lie down in the grass?
Right. I can remember being in there without climbing through the barbed wire with my father when I was just like when he would carry me into the meadow. So I remember that being in the meadow with my family. When I would go through the barbed wire myself would have been walking age, so between 2 and 3.
And as you are a wonderful grandmother as well, have you taken your own children and your children's children to your meadow?
No, I haven't. We sold that. My oldest grandson just turned 7, and my parents sold the farm 8 years ago. So it actually hasn't worked out to happen yet. But that's a great idea, Chris. And I'm welcome to go back anytime. So I can see that happening in the future. Yes, very much so.
And I heard you say that I can go back anytime I like. Is that because your
Yes.
parents put a special rider into the lease of the sale to say that Leah must be able to come back and be in the meadow?
As well, no, I'm a free woman. So it's like I feel like I'm free to walk this earth as long as I'm not causing harm to people. So if I was to drive down our little country road, our farmhouse, original farmhouse would be on the left-hand side. The neighbors don't actually, it's just a huge pasture. So there's nobody else there. So if I drove in and actually pulled into the little entryway and just went through the fence, the only beings who are going to be bothered at all would be if they're grazing cattle.
And is it protected land, or is there some danger that, in the classic way the world goes, that, to quote Joni Mitchell, that they, paved paradise and put up a parking lot? Is there any danger that it'll ever get paved over?
No, I don't think so. It's the farm is south of Viking, Alberta. And so that is it's pretty remote. It's about an hour and a half away from the first major center, which is Edmonton. And so no, I think it would be a century before they're building out there. And currently the way things are going, I don't know that I would see it being homesteaded again first. Versus, or more homesteads happening there versus that it would become citified and parking lot material. Farmland is at premium.
Yes.
Good farmland is very much a premium, and good grazing land is at a premium. So no, I don't see that happening.
And by the way, I couldn't help hearing that you said you were at Viking school. When I first researched you, it said you went to Viking school. So I was thinking you being a sort of Lagatha in one of my favourite TV series, Vikings.
Right. Well,
yeah.
And if you see me, I get asked that a lot. So you ignore, what's your heritage? I get asked that a lot because I'm red-haired, blue-eyed, not red-haired, brown-eyed, because brown-eyed is a lot of Irish folk. And so there's some, or blue-green eyes. I get asked that a lot. Where does that come from? Like, who knows?
So
who knows?
Viking school was just the name of your school. It wasn't literally, I went to Viking school.
No, it was, yes, correct. It was Viking, Alberta, Canada, Viking school. People who are hockey fans will know it because it's the home of the Sutter brothers, who are like these huge NHL hockey players. There was 6 of them played hockey in the NHL. But yeah, I haven't got my name on the sign yet. Can you believe it?
Can you believe it? Only a matter of time. You need your own plaque.
I need my own plaque.
By the way, the Viking sort of epic sound and the reality reminds me of, I made a dark comic short film once called Knock Knock. Why I'm telling you that is that it won film of the festival at what was called the Stamford Film Festival. And everyone went, what, Massachusetts? And I was thinking, no, a very small town just outside of Leicester. So it sounded more epic than it actually was, but it did win film of the festival.
Yes, I love it. But in the school, actually, we had the Norseman was actually the name of the sports team. So everything was painted in the Viking, we had whatever. We had Viking stuff around. Our female sports teams, though, were the Viking Vixens.
Oh,
where does that come?
I love that. Great storytelling right there. And by the way, the program Vikings, where I'm, Lagatha is one of my favourite characters. Somebody I was at drama school with way back when, someone called Richard Ryan, does all the fight directing for them. So go figure.
Right. But and there is a little bit of it's an interesting little segue because I'm a Qigong teacher, teacher. And so my grandchildren call me Iron Shirt Grandma, because there's lots of not fighting, but that you're ready for fighting, which is Norse, which is Viking, which is there's a warrior element to that. And yes, so there is some parallels between the maybe purity and nobility and virtue of actually being able to fire yourself up. So thank you for that descriptor of me. I'm like, that's...
Well, you're welcome. Leaha Mattinson, you are the queen of your own domain. I'm getting that. So the Viking queen. So you are Lagatha. Boom. Wonderful. So thank you. I'm going back into your clearing now, which I really enjoyed, being really specifically the meadow of your childhood. Mm-hmm. So now I'm going to arrive, if I may, and it sounded like you like to go there for solitude to bury yourself in the grass. But if I may, I'm just going to intrude on you momentarily to arrive with a tree, which in my theatrical background is a bit Waiting for Godot-esque. So I'm going to arrive with this tree. And you've been kind enough to have thought about the apples that are about to shake out of your canopy. And this is the exercise of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, where you've had 5 minutes, Leaha Mattinson, to have thought about not just mastering your life, but 4 things that have shaped you, 3 things that have inspired you or continue to inspire you, Two things that never fail to grab your attention, and borrowed from the film Up, that's a bit, oh, squirrels, what never fails to grab your attention, whatever else is going on in our hectic lives. And then a quirky or unusual fact about you we couldn't possibly know until you tell us. So over to you to waggle your canopy.
There you go. I love it. I would say, well, we've talked about some of it. The things that have shaped me. Growing up on a farm shaped me, and my particular farm. My parents, my father was a farmer, is a farmer, and my mom worked at the lab and X-ray as a lab and X-ray tech in the local hospital for 44 years. So I wasn't the average farm gal who had uneducated parents. I came from very smart. My parents are very intelligent people, and they're curious and they're good. I came from good people. So that very much has shaped my life. I think the other thing that has really shaped my life has been the generation I grew up in, which is the generation of decimation, the generation of families falling apart, of the birth control pill, of the increase of drug use, of prescription drug use, of the detachment from family and home. That's very much shaped me.
I've never heard that expression, the generation of decimation. Wow. Great expression.
Thank
very,
you.
very powerful. I get that.
Yeah.
Also, just before you move away from your parents, if you wouldn't mind me asking, because of your genetic inheritance that we started talking about, are your parents in the same realm as that then?
Yes, my father has Huntington's disease, and his mother had Huntington's disease, and then on and on and on through the family tree. So that was who I inherited it from. And I have two children by birth, and my daughter has, maybe we'll have to edit that out. But so somebody has had a genetic inheritance in my family that they've been tested, and we know for sure that I've passed this down. So it's important, again, for me, the management of my own health and knowing what that can look like down the road if I don't. And that's my, to be fair in life, from a moral and virtuous perspective, is to actually take responsibility for the things that you've created. And I created that little being, right? I created that little bean, and that it's my responsibility to do what I can to have good integrity, good health, good life. And has it been perfect? Absolutely not, because of the generation I grew up in, but it's the constant thing that I, definitely, it's the constant thing that I keep in my vision, I guess, is that.
And in playing it forward with your own being, as you've beautifully described them as being, are you playing it backwards as well, where you're helping your father with your found wisdom in how you deal with your own genetic inheritance?
Yes, and actually, thank you. That's a beautiful question, Chris. My dad is 80, just turned 83, and is still living at home. So that's unheard of in this disease. The disease usually takes people, in their 50s. And my cousins, in fact, are living. I have two female cousins that are living in long-term care who are just a few years older than me. And they've been in long-term care for a very long time. So the way my dad lived his life actually informed me. He lived his life as a moral person. He, when he struggled with mental health, quote unquote, mental health stuff, he prayed. My mom has stood, steadfastly beside him. So that support system, the knowing that somebody's got your back, it has been shown time and time again, study after study, to be the key to longevity. So that, when he's needed to eat between 8,000 and 12,000 calories of food every day, we're not driving through McDonald's. We're cooking. We cook a lot of food. We make a lot of really great food. And so there's so much love and genuine care and concern for each other, and saying, I'm not going to repeat that behavior that my mom had. And so his mother, my grandmother, who was an absolutely beautiful woman who had Huntington's disease, she had her story as well, very well respected. And then when the Huntington's kind of started doing its onset, really people didn't understand very much about it at that time. And I think she struggled a lot, and she ended up being paranoid. So her at last days, she ended up dying in Alberta Hospital which is a psychiatric place. She was 76, so she was quite advanced, but still of being paranoid. And she had been that way for quite some time. So that impacted all of us, because when you've got a paranoid person around you, they're always worried about everything. It's like, don't touch that, don't go there, don't do this. And my parents really made a pact with one another that they would do everything that they could to be the opposite of that. So to be, just calm, sure, certain, good, thoughtful, conscientious, have conversations about things with each other, help one another, guide each other, pray about things. So they're very, very faithful as well. And that whole, when you don't have the answers yourself, believing that there is a higher purpose to these things. So for me, that's informed me and been how I've managed coming back into their life to help out, because they've been such great, caring and nurturing people, helping other people along the way, that when I saw that it was time to come and help them out, I came back to help, but not before then, right?
So there's lovely autonomy in that, in how they deal with it. And your own holistic philosophy, is that also for you immersed in religious faith as well?
No, not religious faith. Actually, I would say that's the second thing that's informed me, or third is my own abuse as a child. So I was sexually abused when I was 9. And in the Catholic faith, which is where I was raised, it was very much brushed under the carpet. And I think just because, again, that's how that faith was treating things at that time, how that religion was treating things at that time. And so that's been a journey in and of itself, to go, how do I separate myself from that whole community? So because there's community attachment to all these things, right? So it's your entire community. It's in fact sometimes where you do all your business is your spiritual community. And so there was none of that for me. I just went, that's not for me. And I kind of turned my back on the church, not on God. But I've taken, go ahead.
I really admire your clarity and just pragmatism about the fact of what happened. That was a very admirable moment, I thought, when you just said very matter-of-factly what had happened to you.
Yeah, and because the going forward of things has always been about being pure. And so that I really needed to work a lot on restoring my own virtue. And in the generation of decimation, very, very difficult to do. So there's constantly the barrage of either pornography or the million things that are infiltrating in what would have been a completely different life. There wasn't electronics. There certainly wasn't the appetite for all of these things that have been so horrible, that have really been developed. And there's an onslaught of this stuff in our lives all the time that has really amplified over the last 30 or 40 years. And so when you think about, kind of the time that we were born, I was pretty pure and innocent. And when I came out into the world at 18, 19, 20 years old, into university, that's kind of where the holy, I went, what do you people, like, what is this? What is this? Like, even though I'd been sexually abused, I hadn't been really put into a den of lying. And so there was just so much stuff. It's like the second year students were the first thing they were trying to get us to do was actually go give blood and then go drink with them. That was I can remember it so clearly, because it was just like, we're like little innocent, deer in the headlights, and going, does that seem like a good idea? And yet, so this is
the comedian in me thinks you've joined the university sort of vampire sock. Hey, let's take your blood and go for a drink. Hooray.
I know, cheap drunk. Oh my God. But it's like, I wasn't equipped to deal with that, because I didn't actually grow up in a family where there was heavy drinking, or people weren't intentionally trying to lead you astray. So wasn't very good at defending myself at that time. So a little bit like the deer in the headlights. So, flash forward to what we're, dealing with now in life, and what our children and grandchildren are dealing with in life. It's quite remarkable when you think about how much we've been infiltrated. And then the other remarkable piece that I'm in awe of is how much we can actually just bring ourselves back to center if we have a clearing. I love the format of this show. I love that, the way that you position it, and because when you're just called back to that place, if it's a good, nice, comfortable place, you can get recentered so quickly. It's just like the world vanishes and you're right back to your little nice goosebumpy, safe
So
place.
let's use the wonderful, generous segue that you mentioned there. So we're back in the clearing, we're back in the meadow. There's your tree. So we're back into the canopy briefly. I know we're still doing. Go where you like with what's next, because there could be more that shaped you or influencing, or there's the two things that never fail to grab your attention too.
Yes, sorry, I know I'm going way over 5 minutes here, Chris. So I would say that so the growing up on a farm, my genetic inheritance, the generation of decimation, and then that spiritual development and the call to actually develop myself more spiritually and understand the world's spiritual, religious stuff. And then to go, what is actually, what is truth? What is the truth of where is God? Like, who's God and what's his relationship or her relationship to me? And how does that actually bring meaning and purpose to my life? And that was very informing, because when I untangled myself from all of the, sort of guilt and shame, which I think everyone, on the planet now has a little bit of a corner market on, that can't continue to be the reason why we operate. It's just to keep going back to that old story of, well, I felt bad about it, so I kept doing it, or I felt guilty about it, so, I kept, it's like that finding inspiration instead of the fear driving us to do stuff. So living an inspired life. What I'm happiest doing, I would say, or not doing.
Oh, by the way, that's alchemy and gold you're coming on to now. So we'll come on to that. So what are the two things that never fail to grab your attention? You've segued into alchemy and gold, I think, there, which is coming next.
Just wait for it, Leah. All right. The two things that never fail to grab my attention are listening to people, interesting people, and listening to people. Yeah. And that feeling people in the moment, in the flesh, being with people in the moment, in the flesh, appreciation and reverence for people, marveling
at the wonderment of others. I love that.
Yes.
Lovely. Mm-hmm. And now you've been telling us all sorts of wonderful facts about you, but now a quirky or unusual fact about you that we couldn't possibly know until you tell us.
Oh my Lord. Okay. So I'm a superhero and a unicorn.
Boom.
Okay. Well, you might not know about me as I have 4 grandchildren, and that let's see here, almost 20 years ago, I lost over 100 pounds and I've kept it off.
Oh, wow. Awesome, cool facts. Couldn't help hearing the superhero, the unicorn, and I've lost 100 pounds.
I got 3 in there.
That's just awesome right there. Okay, we've shaken your tree. Now we're going to move away from the trees, stay in the clearing, in your meadow, and talk about alchemy and gold now. There's also another delicious allegory, which is called the diamonds beneath your feet, which I've riffed on before in this program. But it's the magic, the diamonds that lie beneath your feet in what you're here to reveal to the world, is the idea of the storytelling metaphor. So alchemy and gold, when you're at purpose and in flow, Leaha Mattinson, curator of Master Your Life, what are you happiest doing and bringing to the world?
Hugging and cooking. Qigong. So yes, Qigong, which is moving, energetic, how to move your body so that you can activate your Jing Qi, which is that creative sexual energy, that you can manage it, that you can walk through life with an open heart and a courageous heart, and that you can have a clear mind with clear thoughts and be in alignment in your brain and in your heart and in your Jing Qi, that creative center, so that it's not pulling you around this world, keeping you off track, taking you off course.
And I'm just letting that hang there. Mm-hmm. There's a lovely bit of silence there. We like that. There's a really lovely through line of presence. Your meadow's perfect, because whenever it gets chaotic, I get the idea that you can just return mentally, physically, I suppose spiritually, to your meadow. I love that. Mm-hmm. And I'm delighted to know that, again, quoting Joni Mitchell, that it hasn't been paved over. I love that. And it's always going to be pasture land. Lovely. Okay, so now I'm going to award you with a cake, if I may, Leaha Mattinson. And this is a multi-layered cake. And in fact, you've really suddenly got a lick on, and we've got time now, which is lovely. So the multi-layered cake is open to interpretation, and it's where you get to put a cherry on the cake of our conversation, which can include some, all, or none of the following. It can be, what's a favourite inspirational quote that's always given you succor and pulled you towards your future? And, or even it could be, what is the best piece of advice you've ever been given? And, or even it can be, what notes or advice might you proffer to a younger version of yourself? And, inspired by Shakespeare and all the world's a stage and all the men and women merely players, which is, of course, the melancholy Jaques from As You Like It. I'd invite you, Leaha Mattinson, to talk about legacy and how, when it all is said and done, how you would most like to be remembered.
Remembered. Beautiful. So how I approach the question of the quote is that I have a practice that I do, that I kind of look at different books of wisdom, and I cut open the book for my daily wisdom. And that actually keeps me out of the habit of going back to things that are just old news. And so today, in preparation for the show, I just went to the Tao Te Ching, which is right here, the Tao Te Ching, which has actually been, this edition has been translated by Jonathan Starr. So it's Lao Tzu by Jonathan Starr, the translation, the Tao Te Ching, and it's verse 62, which I will just read. Tao is the treasure house, the true nature, the secret source of everything. It is the great wealth of those who are awake, the great protector of all those still sleeping. If a person seems wicked, do not cast him away. Awaken him with your words, elevate him with your deeds. Requite his injury with your kindness. Do not cast him away, cast away his wickedness. When the emperor is crowned or the 3 ministers installed, they receive a gift of jade and horses. But how can this compare to sitting still and gaining the treasure of Tao? This is why the ancient masters honored the inward path of the Tao. Did they not say, seek and ye shall find, err and you will be forgiven? Within, this is where the world's treasure has always been.
I love the rhyming sketch at the end. In and within, this is where the treasure has always been.
Yes, always
Thank
been.
you for flicking that open and giving us that, I suppose, the pick a card, any card, random bit of philosophy and wisdom. I love that.
Yes. So these are meditative things that people can think on. It's a daily practice of people who have think and are well and healthy, is going to the meadow, going to the clearing, doing that.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely. So this is the unicorn top jewel stuff, the diamonds. The legacy, though, I will answer that, how I would want people to think about me. And I'm going to actually return again to Jonathan Starr, who was the translator of this Tao Te Ching. And he writes in the inside of that book a quote to somebody, and what the quotes or the inspired words are: to the one who shares her purity, reveals her wonder, and touches the moon in her dreams. That's how I would like to be remembered.
Lovely. And in the spirit of reincorporation, can you also just say that again? Because I think it's lovely and worth repeating.
Yes. I would like to be the one who shares her purity, reveals her wonder, and touches the moon in her dreams.
Lovely. In the comedy improvisational realm in which I work, there's a lovely adage, which is, if you can't top it, stop it. And I thought that was a really lovely sort of mountain peak of ta-da. That was fantastic. So this is your moment in the sunshine, in the clearing, and thank you for taking us through the route map of the journey so far. As we've got you in the sunshine, in your meadow, Leaha Mattinson, is there anything else you'd like to say whilst we've got you?
Yes, I do. I want to say, love yourselves. Love yourselves, love yourselves, love your children, love them, look at them. Revel in your life, revel in the things that you're creating each moment with each breath. Just revel in yourself. And that from that, the reverence that you have for yourself, your actions will come. But when we're irreverent, when we don't actually revel in our own like beautiful majesty, we don't have that connection. And so that would be what I would love to say for people: look at yourself and really revel in your existence, in this beautiful body and mind and soul that you've been given, and really look at yourself through the eyes of love.
A lovely and profound through line of presence throughout what you've been describing, the presence of the meadow, the presence of everything, even in adversity that you were describing earlier on in our conversation. I love the fact you keep returning to a sort of calm, centered presence in all of this. And a favorite quote I like about presence is, if your presence doesn't make an impact, then your absence won't matter. It's really important to turn up and be there and show up and be there and soldier on. It's all good. My favorite quote for the pandemic, by the way, was from Finding Nemo. The character Dory: just keep swimming, just keep swimming, just keep swimming, just keep swimming.
Absolutely.
Be there, be present. So where can we find out more about you? And this is an invitation for you to go as deep as you like on your own URLs, or talk a bit more about your shows on UK Health Radio. Where can we find out more about Leaha Mattinson, curator of Master Your Life, on the interweb, please?
Well, thank you, Chris, again, for your graciousness. You can find all of the current work on masteryourlife.ca. So just make sure you put the .ca, and that's the website where you can land and find all of the products and services that we currently offer. You can find nutraceuticals for your brain health. So to help you, obviously Huntington's disease is a neurological disease. And so you'll find solutions for neurological problems and biological health problems. In Chinese medicine, I'm a Qigong teacher, and I've brought online with me as an affiliate Lee Holden. So Lee Holden, you will find Lee Holden's teachings and coaching you'll find on my website on the shop page. So anyone who's interested in Qigong, come and look for him. I am not teaching Qigong at this time because I am busy grandma-ing and helping with my dad, so that's what I'm doing. My primary work is the podcast and bringing forth health and healing information and the whole financial aspect. So you can find all that stuff on the masteryourlife.ca website. You can find me on Facebook, Master Your Life, Leaha Mattinson. You can just, and my name is actually spelt funny. So, funny, ha. So it's Leaha, Leaha, like Leaha, ha, 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 ha. My mom has a sense of humor,
I just did it
right?
then.
Thanks, Mom. And last name, yes, is Mattinson. So Mattinson. And feel free to connect, shoot me an email, get on our mailing lists, because we have wonderful guests that are doing really good work worldwide to help bring health and healing. So in the aspects of everything, like chronic conditions, depression, suicide, we've actually got nutraceuticals that can eliminate suicidal thoughts. These are very huge, very breakthrough technology that is absolutely incredible, organic, and it's all patented. So it's not snake oil, because in this world of neurology, which has been actually a gift, really it has been, Chris, neurology and weight loss, there was a lot of lessons I learned that I went, that doesn't work and that does. And what's the science behind that and what isn't? Because when you're dealing with something that's chronic, you don't want to take something that's going to make you more ill. And you don't want to advise other people to take things that are going to make them more sick. So the only things that I have on my website are things that I use myself, or that my family has used, and that we have seen an improvement in our health and our well-being. We've also, those nutraceuticals help for people who've got chronic traumatic encephalopathy, which is the concussion head injury over and over again. So you'll see people with lots of behavior problems, so impulse control problems, mental health problems, constantly not being able to achieve what they want in their life. And then they pay for coaching and then they fail over and over again because their brain is not working. So we really focus on, how do we get your brain to be at that optimal condition? How do we get your body to be in good shape through the no pain philosophy, not the no pain, no gain philosophy, which is Western and driven. Just saying. And then, and then come for the nutraceutical help. So that's all on masteryourlife.ca. You can also see all the episodes of Recovery Road. And we've got Well, a full, I think almost 20 episodes of Recovery Road that are there for listening to now, and at least 20 of each of all the other ones. So we have Roadmap to the Realms, which is my beautiful Babylonian astrologer friend, Crassia Tassio, and some other beautiful people. Because in the spiritual journey, you realize that actually a lot of the education has been hijacked from us. So astrology, astronomy, divination, and what is it that you're looking for in your own spiritual development, so that you might find something there that tweaks for you and you go, oh, I would like to know more about this aspect of myself. Yes.
And does your podcast work autonomously from UK Health Radio as well? So you do it on UK Health Radio like I do my show, and then you pull it out to your own platform, do you as well?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So I'm on my own masteryourlife.ca. That's where everything is. I also play on ch1.ca. So if people are looking for, yes, just you can take a look at, there's some interesting other contributors on ch1.ca. So if you're looking to kind of get your head pulled out of the current fiction of what's going on with health and wellness, then this is a great place to go. You'll find some inspirational stuff from Andrew's Soapbox, Andrew Rashatis, a little shout out to him.
Yeah. And by the way, the bit of noise pollution, just something's buzzing. It could be my end. And also in Bristol, where I'm talking to you from, it's whomping it down with rain. And I don't know whether you've been hearing the wonderful sort of apocalypse of rainfall that's happening to my right.
The tsunami.
That's a better word. A tsunami of rainfall on my Velux window. A first world problem indeed.
You've held it together wonderfully, Chris Grimes, with, just been calm and cool, collected.
Wonderful. So, Leaha Mattinson, thank you so much for gracing us with your presence here in the Good Listening To show, Your Life and Times with me, Chris Grimes. You've been listening to me talking to Leaha Mattinson. And yes, tune in next week for more stories from the clearing. I've been Chris Grimes. This has been Leaha Mattinson. And good night.